Hello and welcome to Between the Studs. We are gathered here today. We've got Mark, we've got Garrett,
What's
and
up?
I'm Daniel. And for once, I'm doing the intro here instead of Mark. And neither of you have interrupted me so far. So
I'm about
y'all,
to say,
y'all are already
I
slacking on your
I meant to cut
responsibility.
you off, and it was like, it's his first
I
time.
was literally going to interrupt you at the very beginning and say, if you need me to recite
No.
exactly what I say, but no, that was perfect.
You missed the ball. You dropped the ball. But today we are doing another head-to-head battle between some awesome themes from yesteryear. We are going to be comparing Rock Raiders and Power Miners, of course. Two often compared and contrasted themes. A lot of people having very strong opinions about one or the other.
For
Not
sure.
a lot of love for both, kind of like we experienced with, I think, the Agents and Ultra Agents one, where people were kind of like, yeah, they're all kind of similar enough. This is one where I think people get pretty feisty about.
Yeah, and like Monkey Kid and Ninjago, you could almost confuse the two if you
Yeah.
don't really know them.
That's
so,
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair for sure. I mean, these two themes have not been around for a good long while at this point.
Over
There
a
hasn't been a
decade now
sequel to
each.
Power Miners, so
Yeah.
it's been a little while. So people are kind of settling into their ways in terms of which one they like the most. So to get us started here, why don't we start off by talking about what each of these themes kind of means to us in terms of our personal relationship with each one of those themes. So, Mark, why don't you go first?
Okay, yeah, I think I'm the oldest guy here, so I can get started. But Rock Raiders was super influential to me as a little tyke running around bouncing off the walls. I actually got a number of Rock Raider sets, including the Loader Dozer right here in front, which has the Rock Monster. Not all of them, of course. I definitely didn't get the big sets like the big bass here, but I actually had a CD-ROM of the video game very early on. I was playing that on a 98. It was
Nice.
amazing. So that, like, having that whole Rock Raiders experience was awesome. And for years I would actually rebuild the sets. I built environments with them. I remember making paper mache rock mountains and tunnels to go in and painting them brown to look like the environment. So I was obsessed as a little kid, and it's never gone away completely, and I still build it every now and then. I made a big build the other day. So, yeah, I love Rock Raiders. I have almost zero connection to Power Miners, though, because I just missed it. I thought the pieces were cool. I didn't have anything against them when they came out. Just thought, oh, it's kind of like Rock Raiders. But I was busy looking at Castle and other stuff at the time. So, yeah, I know nothing about Power Miners. I guess that's Garrett's realm of things.
Fair
Well,
enough.
so you're representing Power Miners, right?
No. I got a shirt and everything.
Oh.
Yes, I'm the Rock Raiders side of things here. But not to say that Power Miners are bad. I just think Rock Raiders are better than the original. We'll get into all that in a minute.
Yeah.
How about you, Garrett?
So I have a little bit of experience with both themes. So Rock Raiders was like, what's 99?
Yeah.
So that came out the same year I did.
Yeah.
So that I didn't have a whole lot of time to get those while they were on the shelves.
No.
I did, however, have a neighbor who was older than me who had some Lego and had old video games and stuff, and every now and then I'd go over there and hang out. And I remember him having a granite grinder. So that was how my first experience with Rock Raiders. Thought it was cool. But then 2009 happened, and I was a 10-year-old boy, I think, and man, was Power Miners like the perfect Lego theme at that time. I mean, the sets are awesome, the minifigs were great. It was definitely my favorite theme at the time. Like, that was right when Bionicle was wrapping up. I'd had a couple Atlantis sets, a couple Operator sets. They were cool. This is what really solidified my love for, like, Lego bricks, not just Bionicle and Technic stuff.
Nice.
Fair. Kind of brought you back into system a little bit.
This
there
is
on the tail
really what started, like, oh, wait, system's awesome.
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
You know, I don't have to have Bionicles with gearboxes for Lego to be cool.
Well, I think we'll talk about it a little later on when we get to sets, but there were some kind of Bionicle-esque pieces in
There
some
were.
of these sets
There,
for sure.
Yeah.
there definitely are.
So we'll definitely talk about that a little later on. I will be playing moderator today, so I'm relatively unbiased. Rock Raiders was a little bit before my time, but I've gotten more into collecting it these days because I like the older vintage stuff. Power Miners I had growing up as a kid. I bought a lot of the sets, but just for whatever reason, I don't have as much nostalgia as I do for a lot of the stuff that I had when I was a kid. I think it's just because it wasn't as special.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of, for the most part, impartial. But I love both of them for different reasons.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is we are going to go through a series of categories, and each of us are going to rank them out of 10 on that front, and then when we get to the end, we will tally up all those points, and we will determine who is the official winner, which will be indisputable as the official ruling. It will no longer be subjective.
It's winner take all.
What is
That's right.
the
That's
best mining theme?
That's correct.
Exactly.
So let's
Should we
kick
have
it
Minecraft
off.
in here?
We could have had a third party, man. Well. I think
Yeah.
these are so similar that Minecraft is so different. I think this is a
You have
not a
Minecraft in your
spiritual-
Rock Raiders mock, Mark.
That's
I
not
don't
a
wanna
Easter
hear it.
egg.
Spiritual
I
successor?
don't wanna hear
Here's
it.
Huh?
an Easter egg. No big
Yeah,
deal.
you had Rock Raiders on the front, you had Power Miners on one side, and Minecraft on the other. They're the perfect triumvirate.
Yeah, you're right.
All right.
Next time.
Let's kick it off with the talking about the minifigures, or specifically the hero or main characters for these. So let's start with Mark on this one, and then maybe each category will go the opposite direction.
Okay. So you want to? Where are we talking about Rock Raiders first?
Let's talk about Rock Raiders minifigures.
Okay, so Rock Raiders was kind of embracing the new trend of having more personalized, named, unique characters. Because before that, in space, which I consider Rock Raiders to be one of the last classic space themes, I have an argument for that. You can watch R. Slugger for more on that. But so unlike just having one standard character with a smiley face, or maybe a female character if they're getting real fancy, yet every character had a unique name, backstory, even a kind of a job. So you have like Sparks. He was kind of like the mechanic, or sometimes a driver. Axel was purely the driver, driving the vehicles around. Bandit was the water expert, like he could be on the boats and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, Docs he was the geologist. He knew where they were supposed to be mining. Jet would fly the things, and flying things in a cave is ridiculous. But Rock Raiders embraced that fully. You have multiple flying vehicles. So I think that the characters are very unique. They all look very dated. They're a little bit 2000s or even like 90s, late 90s, because they got red hair or white hair or orange hair going on, and they all just look a little bit dramatic. But I'm a big fan of all of them. The fact that I remember them all very distinctly, and I remember from like comics, books, and games that like they all had a personality to me, and I could almost like envision myself among them. They're like a crew. So I like that for that. I like the Rock Raiders characters for that reason. I think they're very strong. I would say ranking them, I'd probably have to give them like let's call it a 7, just because I think that they're pretty strong, even compared to themes from this time especially. So
Did you mention Chief?
What was it? Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about Chief. He's kind of like he does exist in Lego, but he was very exclusive. So I think that does add some very interesting element there. But
Chief didn't even come in the what was it? The Rock Raiders crew
Yeah.
set. That's just just all the minifigs.
Nope, he was not part of that
Dang it,
crew.
Chief.
He was.
Nope.
He was. I always saw him as backup on the ship. So
Okay.
like, he didn't actually.
Okay.
He was so important they couldn't actually get
doesn't
down
go
to the
down
caves.
to the
Yeah. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Rock Raiders figures?
I'm a fan of the Rock Raiders minifigs. I think they are really cool. I'm with you. They do look a little dated. They have that kind of like early like 2000s like printing look to them. But I honestly like prefer that to like the 80s printing. Like there's such a nostalgia to me for that like kind of like 90s early 2000 era of Lego printing.
Yeah, they're not 80s for sure.
Yeah.
They moved beyond that.
I do really like them, and I like how each one of them, they have their own specific jobs, but I really like how they feel like a solidified crew. Like, this doesn't seem like the first, like, excursion they've been on, or the first, like, planet they've been to like, mine at.
Yeah.
They seem like this is not their first rodeo at all, and I like that aspect of the team.
Very cool. What kind of score do you think you'd give them out of 10?
If I had to give them a score out of 10, I would say... If we're gonna throw Chief in there with his cool arm. We're gonna put him at a 7.
There you go.
Solid 7 from Garrett
Yeah.
for the Rock Raiders figs. Yeah, I agree with what y'all have said so far. They're a good team, but the printing suffers what I would call alpha team-itis.
Yep.
Which was this late 90s, early 2000s, like really hyper detailed,
A little too detailed.
kind of cartoonish. Everything was outlined in black too. They started outlining everything, which just made everything get really kind of busy. So the designs are not something that aligns super well with modern things or older things. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a very unique snapshot in time. But I do remember the characters' names. I remember each of their jobs. They were a good team. I like the Chief minifigure, but I'm actually probably taking off points because of his hyper exclusivity.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that you can't really afford a normal Chief figure. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming off of all that, I think I'm also going to stick with a 7. I think I'm going to be pretty consistent
There we go.
with that. Let's see. Do we want to flip-flop between Rock Raiders and Power Miners, or do we want to do each theme all the way down and then come back and do the
I
other
kind
one?
of like going back to Power Miners now, but
Let's
it
flip
depends on
flop
what you
through
guys want
Let's
to
do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do Power Miners, specifically hero minifigs now. Garrett, why don't you make the case for your
All
team
right.
there?
So, the Power Miners team, I will start off by saying I don't think they seem very much more like a ragtag team, like a team that's been pieced together. This is kind of their first time doing this kind of job. But it's kind of like Rock Raiders. Everybody has their own job. You've got the scientist, you've got the demolition expert, you've got, the vehicles expert, the mechanics, all that cool stuff. I will be the first to say, I know like maybe 2 of their names.
Yeah.
I think there's like 6 or 8 of them.
Yeah.
I know there's Rex and there is Brains are the 2 that I remember. Rex was like the demolition expert. He had like that big wide mouth print with
Yeah.
stubble.
Yep.
And then Brains is the really cool one because he has like a robot monocle and this like little mustache, but he shows up in another theme in Atlantis. So they reuse him. But the Power Miners team is very kind of like ragtag. They don't really seem to have like a leader. They don't really seem to have like a this is kind of just like one of their first things they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a job.
Yeah, as far as quality of them, I think they're pretty cool. They're all in standard outfits. They have like just like white shirts with overalls. The helmets are really cool. I love that blue helmet with goggles and everything. Those are great. They all have like unique torsos with like a little bomb or like a little stick of dynamite, a little drill. I honestly prefer the Wave 3 ones because that's when they get further underground. And then they all have like drum lacquered silver like armor on.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It makes them a little less unique because they all have the same exact outfit. But it's a cool look for the team.
For sure.
So if I had to rank them, honestly, I would say they're probably like a 5.
Okay. Fair. How about you, Mark? What do you think about the Power Miners hero minifigs?
Yeah, I agree with you, Garrett. I'm also like, I don't really remember their names.
Yep.
I do remember what their faces look like because their faces are compatible with modern minifigs.
Yes.
And that's a big plus for me. But the fact that otherwise they're not really standing out, you could probably replace them in a set without too much difference. I think that I was thinking right at 5 as well. Not bad, but not like exceptional or memorable, So I think that there could have been a little bit more uniqueness or color or even character there. Maybe they could have been fleshed out in comics or something. We'll get to that later, but yeah. So.
Yeah. I put our Power Miners figures online here at the store, and I don't remember hardly any of their names except for maybe
So you
Brains.
should know them, but
They're also a huge pain because
They're also similar.
they look the same at a glance, but like you mentioned, they have like a different symbol in the center of their chest. That's a huge pain to make sure that those are all correct and accurate. They don't really do it for me. They have double-sided head prints, a lot of them, which is nice. A lot of them have like a shocked expression or like a angry working expression. But I agree, they're more of a ragtag team for sure. I feel like the Rock Raiders, because they were exploring space and mining, and they kind of got trapped. They were more like an exploratory, vetted kind of team. Whereas depending on the story that you believe for Power Miners, they were probably just hired by some
This
company
is
or
like there was
something.
earthquakes,
They're just in it
and
for the money.
These are like government contractors.
Yeah,
They come down
exactly.
and-
So they kind of
like real
don't really
miners.
care.
Yeah.
They were probably vetted more to believe in things
These
like
guys
teamwork.
were the lowest bidder.
For all those reasons, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give Power Minus a 4 for the hero
I mean, it's fair.
minifigs.
I think that's fairly
They're
valid.
just they're not super great figs. So let's move on to the other end of things, and let's talk about the sort of villains. Is how we usually categorize it, but this is the rock monsters specifically. So we're gonna kick it off with Rock Raiders again, of which there is only one monster
In
But I will
existence,
let
yeah.
Mark make his case for that.
Okay, so in the sense, because this is 1999, they were just getting out of the very old-fashioned design. This is breaking free from that, really, and there's still some experimentation going on. But the Rock Monster is the only monster that we got to see in physical form. He's pretty cool. He's just one piece with one moving part. He's got a few studs in his back, so you could have a Rock Raider ride on his back, or he could pick up a Rock Raider or a crystal, so he's got a little one brick space there. He can't hold anything snapping, no connections there, but you can kind of set it in there, not too hard. So as far as physical products, very simple. However, in the games, they expand a lot on that. So you have slugs are supposed to be there. There's even supposed to be rock whales in the PlayStation game.
That's pretty cool.
Which is like a giant crab-like creature. So yeah, there you go. Perfect example. So there's some extended media that if they had fleshed out in maybe a second wave of Rock Raiders, which never existed, that'd be really cool, and I'd give them a lot more score. But because it's just old rock monster here, I think it's going to be a 4 for me, just because they never really followed through with all the things that they had dreamed of or saw in video games, but you never got to play with it in person. And that's what we're judging the sets mostly, what we can actually play with.
Yeah.
So, 4 for me. But I think you guys would consider Rock Raiders not the strongest on monsters. At least they exist. But
yes, at least they exist.
Yeah.
I do think it's a cool mold and it's a cool piece and all that. Do we consider this the first Big Fig?
Probably. Because other than that, it's like you got Galdor and Homemaker.
I'm talking about standardized Big
in a
Fig.
system set, probably the biggest thing since...
It's either that or the Fantasy Trolls.
Well, yeah, a lot of people would say it would, if you're judging it by the modern standards, that it would be the first ones to use that standard hand piece and arm piece.
That's probably
which
fancier.
The Trolls were close, but I think they were slightly different because they had like the wristbands on. Hulk might have been the first one that used the exact modern molds. But yeah, you could make a case for this being the first Big Fig.
I would consider that the first Big Fig if we consider the big rock monsters Big Figs, which everybody pretty much does. And speaking of rock monster Big Figs, there are tons of rock monsters in Power Miners.
We're not talking about Power Miners yet.
You gotta rank Rock Raiders, let
Just
Daniel,
Rock
then we'll get
Raiders.
over those. I have a strong feeling those will be strong.
4.
Yeah.
4? Okay.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
And if he was gray, it'd be higher for me. I don't like him being a brown rock monster.
Well, so there was the supposed prototype for the white rock monster, which might have been either a preliminary image for this, where it was just molded out of clay or something, or it could be indicating that there was a whole separate plan for like a snow or ice themed wave or something of Rock Raiders. So it kind of depends on what you believe there, but I think this guy was very iconic. I remember seeing this guy in like early, old catalogs and things when I was growing up, thinking it was the coolest thing because I don't think either of my brothers had Rock Raiders sets, so it was just this crazy like
it was new for its time,
geodesic kind of looking guy with all these crazy angles and things. So I think he's very cool. I wish we had gotten more things like him, but for what we did get, I'm gonna give him a 6.
There you go. All right,
I'm gonna give him a 6.
Poop monster.
All right, now you can talk about Power Miners.
Let's talk about Power Miners monsters. Yeah.
Power Miner rock monsters. There's so many. There's so many.
The rainbow.
They are probably some of
taste
the
the rainbow.
coolest looking minifigs ever.
Yeah.
I absolutely love these guys.
What flavor is that one?
This one,
what
the neon green.
Yeah.
Pineapple.
Lime.
I think he tastes
lime.
He's lime, and this one's green apple.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're awesome. I absolutely love these things. When I was a kid, this was easily my favorite Lego piece ever. I remember having the orange one in particular, and I would put him in my pocket every morning before school.
Nice.
And I would carry him around, and I did that for probably like 2 years until he was almost completely all trans orange. All the prints
that gray rubs off there pretty easily.
Yep. So there are what we have here, 8. There's 8 variants of the smaller rock monster that come in tons of cool translucent colors. They're essentially just molded in one color, and then the head is a separate piece. But you can open each of their mouths, and they showed in all the promotional images and all that. You can put a crystal in there, or like the Power Miners can shove a piece of dynamite in their mouth and blow them up. I always, when I was a kid, I would take minifig heads off and put them in there. And so it's like they were like eating the Power Miners.
That's good. That's good.
So these standard gray ones here, these were like the main ones you got in the first 2 waves, and then they got lower underground and found the lava monsters.
Yeah.
And so these are just like molten versions of those guys. Really
Very
cool.
cool.
Those guys are a little less cool than these, in my opinion. I wish they made more colors of these. If they had made more colors, that would have maybe done it.
Is this your personal collection of rock monsters?
This
Did you
is
bring these
not.
from home, or did we have all these here?
These are all available at the store.
Oh, nice. I didn't think we had a complete collection.
If I had brought mine, we just would have had like a shoebox.
Yeah, there you go.
I have like, I think, 38 or 40 of these
Holy
guys.
cow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because like even like during my dark ages when I didn't collect Lego, every now and then when I was on eBay and I saw like a rock monster for like $4, I'd snag him.
Yep.
Nice.
And so I did that just for ever, and now I have so many rock monsters I don't know what to do with.
There you go. How about these
But
big guys here?
I was
Yeah,
about to
talk about
say,
them too.
so we've got the standard rock monsters, and they also made three actually. We don't have the other one. They made 3 Big Fig variants
the last one?
of
Blue?
the.
Is there a big blue?
Mm-mm. If they made a blue one, that'd have been awesome.
What is the other big one?
So there's the trans neon green Big Fig one, and then the trans neon red, or just trans red. And these guys had a. This reminds me a lot of like the Knights Kingdom guys.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a little switch on the back that you can move, and it will move their arm. And so this has, it's like a, not quite like 2x2 like slot, but you can balance one of those like Lego rock pieces up here.
Yeah.
And that's like to throw it, or you can
Or
put a
crystals
rock monster
or other
up there.
monsters or minifigs.
Yeah. So these are awesome. There's also a big molten one of these guys from the third wave.
Oh yeah.
Eruptor, and he's the most expensive rock monster. He's like $100.
Yeah, those
And
little flame pieces.
Yeah, he's
on
got
us.
exclusive flame pieces that go on top. But the rock monsters from Power Miners are what makes the series, in my opinion. They are so cool. These are easily a 10 out of 10.
Nice. Nice.
Yep. I agree with all that, Garrett. I think these are like really well conceived and executed because he got multiple waves, multiple sizes. You get further underground, they're changing. It's pretty cool because there's supposed to be lava monsters, and ice monsters, and rock raiders. They never got that far with the
But
sets.
we don't have those.
We don't have those. These we have, and that's pretty cool. So, but I will say because the little ones aren't super durable, and because I can't remember all their names, I'm gonna give them a 9 out of 10.
Fair enough.
But I think they're still phenomenal. So.
Fair enough. These guys are iconic. There's never been anything like them before or after,
Yeah. No.
I would say. You immediately know what they're from. All the different colors are great. They look like candy. People want to collect them all the time. We used to give them out for free for winning our coin drop, which is crazy. I can't believe we ever did that. But yeah, the huge guys are great because you can change the pose of the arm too beyond that. So yeah, they could either be throwing stuff or you could like put it down here like they're banging on the ground or something. There was all sorts of fun stuff you could do with that. I'm going to give these guys a 9 out of 10 also. I think these are pretty darn good as far as rock monsters go. Very iconic.
Fantastic, yeah.
So next, let's talk about the sets and the overall kind of set design. Let's see. I think we did.
A broad theme, but yeah.
Did we do Power Miners first on the last one? Let's do Rock Raiders first on this one. Let's go ahead and do sets from Rock Raiders. What do you think overall, Mark?
All right. So Rock Raiders only got the one wave in 1999, and then maybe probably a few ancillary figure packs later.
Yeah.
But had the main kind of classic. Oh, I think it was like 7, 8 sets. Not too many. The biggest one
You count
being.
all the little tiny ones.
There's a bunch of Kabaya polybags in Japan.
Yeah.
But the biggest one, of course, is Rock Raiders HQ, which we have right here. We can kind of look at in the box. Big raised base plate, kind of typical of the era. You didn't get a lot of landscape environments, and I don't think you see that too much in Power Miners either, unfortunately. But you did get some architecture with the base here. You've got the big light-up laser piece, which is pretty cool. Thankfully, no sound bricks anywhere because those can be really annoying. They're fun as a under 10, but they're not.
There's no reason you couldn't pull this piece right off of here and slap one of those insectoid stingers right on there, and you can blast those rocks going beep 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 whoop 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 whoop.
No, thankfully that is not present. This theme is interesting in that it has the boulder piece, which was relatively new. I think it might have seen some modification. The old city town space station. You saw the dark gray ones. I think that was slightly after or before. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't
Either way, that was relatively new. The crystal piece, seeing it in neon green was new because I think it first appeared in chrome in Aqua Zone, which would have been just a year or two prior to this. And so Rock Raiders has some really unique pieces and colors going on. Neon green all throughout. You have old brown, teal, yellow throughout the different vehicles. I think the best set is the Chrome Crusher. Even though it's an impractical vehicle design, it looks cool and it looks like it could do so much damage because it's got that huge chrome drill. The sonar right on front where it'll get broken for sure. And it's got this gigantic V8 engine in the back with chrome pieces all over it. Chains hanging off of it. You got these kind of tactical lights on the side, lots of accessories. So I do like the sets a lot. I think they're pretty solid. For the most part, some of the smaller ones get a little bit more chunky. The old-fashioned pre-2000s curve slope phenomenon, they have very kind of rigid, angular look to them, which I think doesn't hurt them, but it's not for everyone. If you like classic Lego, you'll like these. If you aren't familiar with classic Lego, these will look clunky. So that's a little bit of a weakness for them. But I think, some of the unique factors in like the chrome, the neon green, make this really special for me, especially the nostalgia. I think set design overall, I give them an 8 because I think they stand out among Lego themes. They may not integrate as well with other classic space or even modern sets, but I think that they are definitely memorable. So, What do you guys think?
How about you, Garrett? How you feeling about Rock Raiders sets overall? Sets and parts, we'll say.
So, man, it's a tricky one because I like Rock Raiders, but if you change the color scheme of, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Loader Dozer I think is the best set from Rock Raiders, just mainly for like the play feature. It's cool, these big old wheels.
Got the big scoop on the front.
But if you change the color scheme of that to black and red, it would look like any old Lego space set.
It would,
yeah.
Like Spyrius, yeah.
Hey, Rock Raiders is a space theme.
It is.
that's the
I
one
will
caveat.
agree with that. Yeah. But I mean, it is that era of Lego. It's super blocky. It's super. They're using. This is kind of like the era of like they were trying to juniorify everything, and so, I mean, that's what maybe 50 pieces.
Yeah, it's low part counts for sure. Yeah, you're right.
Those big bases they use
400 pieces in a $100 set. Yeah.
And so I think they feel just really bulky, and I mean that works for mining equipment. But overall, I just think the set design is a little too abstract, and that tends to be a problem with older Lego. Yeah. I think it's a little too abstract, and I'm not a big fan of Rock Raiders' color scheme. I think it's a little too all over the place.
Fair enough.
I mean, I would give it set design, and I'd give it a 5. It's not the worst you'll see of old Lego, but I wouldn't say it's like a shining example of like this is what you should strive to be as a builder.
It's not standing out enough for you. Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah. I will grant you that this was what a lot would consider to be a pretty heavily juniorized theme. I mean, I think we got a lot of these new chunky pieces. So we've got the bottom of the cockpit, the vehicle bases, as you mentioned, even using some older existing pieces like the bucket and these. I think the wheels were new for this. Some of them were great welcome additions as parts. I think this roll cage part was a fantastic addition. That would be really hard to build something that looked like that or interpret that in a different way. Something like the vehicle base, you could argue, could have been built out of regular pieces. So in that sense, they were just kind of cutting costs. But I think some of them were good additions in that sense. As far as the way that all of the sets were laid out in the wave, I love a wave of sets that's like all vehicles and then the biggest set is the base. So I feel like this layout that they had with all these sets, they had a great color scheme, they had a diverse line of sets. I feel like it should have worked for all intents and purposes. So I'm surprised it must have not been up to snuff or whatever numbers they were expecting to continue with more waves in the future, especially given that they had the whole tie-in with the games and stuff. But I feel like it should have worked better. I still like them. I think they're well-designed sets. I like the color scheme. I like a lot of the parts. I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
There you go.
Give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that Rock Raiders wasn't particularly successful when it was coming out. Of course, most sets were. 99 wasn't a great economic year for a a lot of people.
Yeah.
I see a lot of...
the world was getting ready to end. All
exactly.
the computers were getting ready to stop
Y2K was a
working.
thing. I remember being in the grocery store on Y2K. Anyway.
Remember to turn off your rock laser blaster before midnight on
Exactly.
December 31st,
Get all your canned food.
1999.
Get all the canned food. I think that I see a lot of on sale stickers on old Rock Raider sets, which suggest they were not selling well. So
Yeah,
interesting.
That's very fair. All right, let's talk about Power Miners. Garrett, why don't you hit us up first?
Power Miner set design is so cool. It's just like, let's take an industrial vehicle and right here, like the Cave Crusher, let's just strap a bunch of blades to it.
Yep.
Or, the biggest set, the Titanium Command Rig. Let's make a mobile vehicle that you can turn into a mobile drilling station.
Yeah.
I think the Power Miners design is really cool. They made these big, bulky vehicles that had these real gnarly looking weapons on them. I remember there's one, the cave digger, I think. It's like a little dune buggy, and it's got these big arms with these giant bionicle orange blades on it that you can turn these little wheels and it'll go. Or the Thunder Driller's my favorite set. It's like the most iconic set from Power Miners. It's just a big drill on wheels, and as you roll it around, that drill up front spins, and it is just the coolest thing ever. It's this little drill piece here, just in gray, but it's got that like the bigger Power Miners wheel. This wheel was around forever until Nexo Knights kind of updated it.
Yep.
Gosh, yeah, it appeared in Ninjago for sure.
It was in Nexo Knights too, I think, for the villain vehicles.
And then, I think in one of the later waves, they updated them all.
They made it like more swoopy and all that. But I think the set design is really cool. You've got like, I think a lot of people don't like the Power Miners color scheme. And I think it is a benefit to the series. It is very flashy and it is very out there. But if you don't think like a mining vehicle should be lime green, then dump truck shouldn't be yellow. It's a construction equipment. This is heavy equipment that
high visibility.
Yeah, it's high vis. What's more high vis than neon orange and neon green?
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. I think it works well together. They complement each other. I think the set design really is some of the best from 2009. It's really cool, and those vehicles still hold up today.
Fair enough. Did you give that one a ranking?
Let's give that one. It's an 8. I mean,
8 out of 10. Okay.
There's some cool sets in there that still look good today.
Fair enough. All right, Mark, let's hear it.
So I really do like the Power Miners design overall for sure. There's a bunch. I love the fact that the orange is for the moving parts, and the lime green is for the vehicle body. So they were keeping it pretty.
I always assumed that,
consistent,
like, especially like when the blades and things were orange on sets, that they were like heated.
Yeah,
they were
maybe.
like red hot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I always thought it was like, watch out, that's the part that's gonna get your
Yeah.
finger. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But no, great vehicle design overall. I love the giant, the main base, the Titanium Command rig with the giant drill is awesome. That lifting feature is really cool. I think that as the first wave is great, second wave was pretty solid. I would say that some of the vehicles don't work so well for me. One of them is actually on the table here with this. It just like the face is going to hit the wall before the blades. You know what I'm saying? It's a few things like that.
That's why you have
the dynamite launcher. You're right.
Fire
You're
missile.
right. You're right. And then so I think that some real knockout home runs early on. I think that the further got underground, I don't like the look of that mech there, and like some of the more water incorporated things. I think once they added blue, it got a little too many colors. So it's just a little bit less preferred for me than Rock Raiders, but I still think it's really solid. I think it's a 7 for me. So I didn't grow up with them. I don't have quite the same in-depth
I would agree
experience.
with you about the Wave 3 sets. They don't look as cohesive or as good.
Just not speaking to me the same way. However,
they still have great functions and everything. They're
I think 2/3 of all Power Miner sets are perfect.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way to put it.
How are we going to rank that one, Mark?
I thought 7 was
7.
It sounded about right to me. So.
Gosh, this is hard because a lot of what I think makes Power Miners great is going to be the play features, which we're going to talk about next.
That's a separate category for that reason.
So just strictly talking about set design, I think there were some great design aspects to it. They preserved a lot of that kind of rough and tumble look of the Rock Raiders vehicles. You still got big headlights on the front and primary the primary focus is on the mining equipment. Which I think is great. But yes, I agree that in some of the later ones it started to look a little more fantastical, whereas the early ones were at least slightly more grounded in reality. I think my biggest beef is also going to be with the color scheme. I think it's two what should have been accent colors. I think they could have picked either lime green or orange as an accent color with like mostly gray and black. I like your idea about like having the blades be like red hot though. I think if they wanted to convey that, they should have done them in like trans neon orange.
That would have been so cool.
I think that would have been a cooler accent color, leaning more into the way they did like classic space themes, which was muted tones, a solid accent color, and then a transparent accent color can kind of work in tandem better. I think they were a little busy, but I mean they did good work with the decals, making them look like even though they've been painted these bright colors, they've been scuffed up and worn down.
The stickers would be a down for me, but I think they were at least cool looking stickers. So.
Yeah, they were. I think the stickers mostly enhanced the sets. I would say. Gosh, I would love to see if they ever rehashed, which we can talk about this later, is if they would ever even touch another mining theme again.
We'll talk about the end.
You were talking about like a fluorescent thing. I would love to see it if they did it with like the new neon yellow color or something as like
That'd
a
be
high-vis.
Perfect.
High-vis
Yeah.
kind
Actually,
of
it's kind of a mix between like that yellow and that neon green, that lime green. It would be perfect. So.
I think I'm going to go with 7 on this one as well. I think they were good set designs, but it had a few drawbacks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I think this is what we're going to get really excited about is play features. So since we were just talking about it, let's start off with play features from the Power Miners side of things.
All right. So, first off, not only do the sets have play features, but we talked about that even our figures have play features, which is great. This is the squeakiest power that ever existed.
Just to drink some WD-40.
Yeah. So even our figures have play features, but every single Power Miner set had such a cool little play feature, whether it's a drill spinning, whether it's, I think almost every one of the sets had this like these flick fire missiles with the dynamite. Is Power Miners where the dynamite started?
I believe it is where that part
yeah.
I think that makes sense, yeah. So.
And so, I mean, I remember throwing these around all the time.
They're great. They bounce, too, because they're that kind of rubbery.
So, I mean, they're loaded with missiles with dynamite. A lot of them have net launchers on them, which I miss the net launchers. Do they still make the net piece? I don't think so.
Not in that exact shape, I think.
Yeah, because I miss
these
little net launchers. They were so cool how you can just boop
and
then
catch
catch
the
a rock
monster.
Yeah. Those were awesome. A lot of them had features where as you would roll it, it would spin either blades or some other kind of saw or something. This little mech has a really cool claw.
Big scissor arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the commercials for this one. It always showed it picking up a rock monster.
You
and
just
like,
snatch him.
Yeah, and you could never do that.
No.
But the play features were like such a strong part of what Power Miners was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really what showed me as a kid, like, oh wait, you can make bricks move. You can make them do things like how Bionicle moves around and all that. And so this is what showed me, like, this is what Lego can do. You can, make things spin. You can make a scissor arm if you need to. And so I think just for, that, the play features are some of the best from that era.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. How would you rank them out of 10, Garrett?
I'd give them a 9.
9 out of 10?
I think out of everything available at that time in 2009, if you want something with some cool play features, Power Miners is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. Mark, how do you feel about the Power Miners play features?
I think this is one of the strongest aspects of Power Miners is how well all these play features work, because like even the biggest sets have huge moving parts to them that work well. One of my favorites is I don't know the name of the vehicle, but when it grabs the monster and throws it behind it.
Yeah, that's one from the Water Wave too.
It works perfect, and that's a really cool play feature. The big giant drill, when you push it, it spins. There's all this great stuff that just is like, that is some of the coolest engineering ever incorporated in a system set. So I think it's going to be a 9 for me too. So
a 9,
yeah.
Okay. This is what I love the most about these as a kid. Some of the sets that I had were the titanium command rig. So yeah, being able to flip that tower, so it could be down and drive through like a tunnel boring machine. And it had the smaller drill piece and the bigger one, and they rotated opposite directions. I'm pretty sure, which was really cool at the time.
That's insane. Yeah.
The way they got all that gearing in there, and then they sort of had those bevel gears so that when you pivoted it up, you could still drive those things, and it would look like it was drilling down. There was like a command tower up at the top with these floodlights and stuff. There was a little cage on a crane that you could put the rock monsters in. And then same thing, I think, with the other one with the big drill on the front, Thunder Driller.
Thunder Driller.
Was that one? I think that one also had the two-directional drill, which was just great design. I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. I don't hardly have anything.
You can't argue, yeah.
I can't argue much of anything against it. So, great features. I think the Wave 3 was a little lacking. There were a couple of the vehicles and mechs and things with kind of decent play features. There was the biggest set was the lava base one, right?
Yes.
With the lava monster. That one did have the little vending machine that actually worked, which I think was the first one of those, which was kind of neat. But I think since then there's been a pretty good history of Lego functional vending machines. I feel like they keep bringing that feature back since then. All right, let's talk about Rock Raiders play features. Why don't you kick us off, Mark?
Okay, well, not as strong as Power Miners in the play feature front. I think that they still have a couple of really strong options. I do like, for example, the Loader Dozer here with its little chain-operated scoop. It works perfectly. You can just manipulate it and flip things over, so it works great. That's really fun. So you have a couple physical play features, you have lights. So in multiple sets, there's the laser, which was the coolest piece to have when you were in 1999. The cell phone wasn't in common use. Having something that lit up was cool.
Which came in, only 2 sets?
I believe 2 sets. I think it was
the Rock Raiders HQ and then the, what was the other
Chrome
big
Crusher.
vehicle? Chrome Crusher.
Yeah. So 2 uses for that little light up. It was used as a laser to shoot the walls, of course. But then you had, the base actually has a couple good play features as well. You have a physical crane you could snap the pieces onto. You have like a conveyor belt where you can move pieces to and fro. So there was some kind of traditional classic space play features, which you don't see in modern sets. The vehicles were pretty basic. You had the drills didn't spin, but they were there. You could turn them. I think that the tunnel transport, which is a giant flying vehicle, which is absurd in a cave, it still had some cool features with a giant magnetic connection. You could move a vehicle. You could basically just pick it up and fly with it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You had a big container there too, so you could move cargo as well. So decent play features. I would say much better than average for sets from that era, especially. So I would give it a 7. I think it still holds up pretty well, even for what it is. So
Fair. How about you, Garrett?
I'm going to be on the opposite side. I think the play features have not held up, and I think Rock Raiders, maybe back then, let me put myself in the shoes of a young Mark, where I can go outside and hit a rock with a stick, or I can push a light on a laser blaster.
Oh, Papa, can I please play hoop and stick,
Can I please get to my hoop?
Please.
Yeah.
Can I dig a hole out in the back?
Papa, look, I put the ball in the cup, Papa.
I think they, were probably really cool back then. Again, I think the Loader Dozer is probably the coolest one, the best play features still. I think they're like a 3 or so. They're
3?
They're not that great.
Oof,
The
all
Granite
right.
Grinder can't even walk.
The Granite Grinder is actually not a great play feature. I give you that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the base has some cool functions with it, but comparing those play features to a Power Miner's
doesn't hold a
base,
candle, yeah.
oof.
I think they were better for the time, all things considered. I think ones like the Granite Grinder were pretty rough with that walking feature. It looked like something out of
that aged poorly. I
out
agree.
of Robo Riders.
Yes.
But as far as the other ones go, I think they were very good. I think the Loader Dozer was very nice, even though this play feature was almost directly stolen from the Aqua Dozer. Yeah. I think the base, having the modular aspect, was really nice. That base plate lent itself well to that, with those 8x8 sections that could be swapped around. And I think the play features that were in each of those sections were pretty decent for the time, and as well the rock monster having the same kind of, albeit much more simple than the later iteration. The idea of being able to pose a large figure like that, I think, was very nice. So I think I'll also go with a 7 out of 10 on Rock Raiders play features.
I can't believe you just ruined that set for me.
What? Why?
If I put that set on the Aqua Zone raised base plate, I have an Aqua Dozer. Are you kidding me?
Pretty much.
That's I never thought about that.
Pretty
That's
much.
the same bucket.
It's the same bucket. Our Slugger just did a video on this.
Did
You
he?
can go
Yep.
watch it. I think it
Okay.
was more about the Aqua Dozer, but he compares it to this.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That we should definitely try to, if you haven't seen RR Slugger, he can explain all about Rock Raiders for you. So much
That's the Rock
better than we
Raiders.
can.
Yeah.
For sure. Look, there he is. He's right there on the
Yeah,
poster.
there he is.
Our Slugger's been such a fan for so long, they put his icon on the game poster.
Back in 1999, they knew.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next category we got?
Next, we're going to talk about the story or lore behind each of these. So these can get a little
Subjective.
contentious or dicey depending on whether you're more a fan of comics or games or, read the Lego Club magazine. So let's start with Rock Raiders as one.
He's over there
that I
shaking.
think
I'm going to say he needs to get it out.
people debate. I know I already made a lot of people mad in the comments earlier when I definitively said that Rock Raiders was a space theme. So let's see how Mark feels about this.
Okay, so Rock Raiders was the end of an era in some ways, but also the iteration of new things happening too. It was really in a weird transitionary period for Lego. Basically, I think the story and the kind of theme they were presenting was very different from a lot of things they were doing in the past, and also different from what we see nowadays. It was kind of serious in tone. The Rock Raiders were basically stranded in outer space, according to the animation video at the beginning of the game. They had no idea where they were, and they were mining the crystals to get home. So a good purpose to get the crystals. The rock monsters were just trying to stop them. They didn't have too much story, but the miners' plight was something you could really get on board with, right? They had a real good purpose for getting their vehicles together, going out there and finding stuff.
Lost in Space.
Yeah, Lost in Space had a great vibe. It actually is kind of in tune with a lot of like movies and media of the time. It was kind of like that sci-fi adventure. So I really resonated a lot with the story, especially if you could get into the comics and the video games. Each set had its own comic book, which is pretty cool. And so nowadays we don't have that media with most of the sets that we see. You usually just get the little built set and maybe a figure. But back in the day, you could really get into the story. Rock Raiders, despite only having one theme, they put so much like ancillary stuff with accessories you could do with it. We found out recently there was a Rock Raiders backpack you could acquire. You know, I mean, they really went all out with the extra stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, interestingly, that's amazing to us because most companies kind of tend to refine their business model more now. So that's something that was prevalent in the 90s and actually ended up really costing them later. This is the beginning of that experimentation. So I think that the story and lore is very strong for Rock Raiders. It's high adventure, deep underground. I think it's particularly strong. So as far as that goes, I'd say, it's like a 9. I think it's one of my favorite classic space themes as far as the purpose of what they're doing. So, because I mean, like compared to like Blacktron is Blacktron. Yeah. What else is there to say? It's just they exist.
They're just space bad guys.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that Rock Raiders has a way more compelling narrative there. So
yeah. How about you, Garrett? What do you think about the story of Rock Raiders?
I would agree. I think it's a really cool one. I like how they do have, you can find models of it and stuff, but they have a home base ship that is docked above the planet.
It's a named ship, the LMS Explorer.
Yeah. And so I think that whole aspect of it is cool. Is that they're this team that doesn't particularly know what planet they're on. They just have found a power source and they're taking advantage of it. I think it's really cool. I haven't played any of the Rock Raiders game, the Manic Miners. I haven't read any of the comics or anything like that. But I do think it's pretty cool, and I think it's cool how LEGO decided just on a whim this one little theme that has 5, 6 sets.
Yeah, a handful of sets
is gonna get probably some of the most story we put into any space set.
An epic quest for this very niche theme,
Because I mean, it's like you said, Blacktron's Blacktron, Mtron, they're just the packaging guys.
Yeah, exactly.
In the shipping department.
We pick things up and we put them down.
Yeah.
So this is very different from all that.
They actually, I think it's cool. I would put it at around a 7.
Okay.
Pretty fair.
I think there are a few different ways to interpret the Rock Raiders story, which is what leads to a lot of these issues. So the hierarchy of what I would say would be the proper way to interpret it would be, at the top would be the comics that came in the sets, would be the way that the story was meant to be interpreted. So I don't have a lot of the comics because they're harder to come by with the sets. I don't know if you've read most of them. But
I've read a couple of them.
But was that stranded space element represented in the comics, with the LMS Explorer and Chief? Did you see all that, or were they more just stories surrounding the particular vehicle or base in the set?
They were more about the purpose of the vehicle, or maybe a little adventure you could have with the vehicle, but they did, some of them alluded to, we have to get to the base, or have to, there's a further purpose or story for this to do. So it was a good way of introducing, suppose you had a kid in the 90s, you would be handed a set, you have no idea what it is. That comic would give you a starting point.
Yeah.
So I think it was, pretty well achieved, but they didn't have any words in those comics. It was just kind of action, pictures.
Because I wonder if some of that, Lost in Space kind of aspect was developed later for the game to give it more depth. I'm not sure. It seems like a coincidence that they were mining people, right? They had a spaceship with all the mining vehicles already on it. Then they just so happened to get stranded in space, and they needed those mining vehicles to go get the crystals to power the ship to get home. So it seems like it gets a little convoluted.
Based on some of the preliminary and early concept images that were actually even more grand in scope than what ended up as product and the games. So I think that there was always a huge idea behind the story and that kind of complexity, that drama, but then it maybe got miniaturized to actually sell it.
Right, to simplify it a little bit.
I don't think the vehicles were the first part of Rock Raiders. I think the vehicles were the result of the idea behind Rock Raiders.
Because a lot of people, I think, who don't play the game or don't read the comics just see it as a mining theme that could take place on Earth for all
As
they
it,
care.
yeah, as it kind of should be. You should be
Yeah.
able to approach it pretty easily.
I
so.
think you could get as much out of the story as you wanted to, depending
Exactly.
on how deep you go into it. And I do like that aspect of story. So while it was a little convoluted, I like that it rewards you the more that you look into it. So I'll give it an 8 in that case. I'll split the uprights there.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about the Power Miners story. So Garrett, why don't you start us off there and tell us a little bit about the story of Power Miners?
Alrighty, so our story of Power Miners is there are tremors happening all over the globe. The Lego cube. Is Lego world
The
a
Lego
cube
world.
or is it a sphere?
I see it as
It's
a
Earth,
brick.
though, yeah?
Yes, it's
Or
Earth.
at least Lego City.
Lego City,
the
yes.
planet.
Lego Town, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's tremors and earthquakes happening all over the place. So a team is assembled to go down into these caverns and figure out what's happening.
Probably by the government.
Probably, we would say.
There's scientists involved.
And so our team gets down there, they set up a base, they start exploring, they start mining, looking for things. They end up finding power crystals, energy crystals, which very much like Rock Raiders were an energy source that they did not know was down there, and it just happened to be, oh, well, now this is the secondary mission. Let's take a bunch of these. And that then, kind of awakens the rock monsters. The rock monsters were, just down there, and then they start taking essentially their food source, and that's when they got angry. So then it turns into, okay, well, the Earth is shaking, but these guys are trying to eat us now. So,
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of, deep story. It's very much, here's my good guy vehicle, and here's my bad guy.
It's a simple purpose, yeah.
They wanna smash each other.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. I know there were a couple those little comics you'd get in the back of instruction manuals and things that showed a couple frames of things. What I do think is cool is there is some loose connections with. This theme is connected to Atlantis. That's confirmed with the character brains, but it's also kind of loosely connected through those little comics to Alien Conquest.
Okay.
In that it's connected to Monster Fighters too. With that Monster Fighters, when Lord Vampire summons the full moon for all of eternity.
This is getting very Pixar theory. Dial it back a little.
When Lord Vampire summons the full moon, that brings the Alien Conquest, summons the Alien Conquest of Hypaxis 8.
Uh-huh.
The war that happens in Alien Conquest with Hypaxis 8 is what awakens the rock monsters.
Alien Conquest is canonically tied to Toy Story, which then Toy Story we know is tied to Incredibles.
Exactly.
Tied to Monsters.
It's
And
all
there's that
together.
one number in Cars
and then
or
Ink
something.
was tied. Yeah, that was tied to Cars, and then Cars was tied to Frozen.
A113.
Frozen
Yeah. So, I mean, that's very loose, very just kind of fun in the
Interpretation there.
air. There's not a whole lot of
It kinda
story with Power
domino
Miners. It's very much just bad rock monsters, good guy vehicles.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 5.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I have one question for you on that point, Garrett. Is it true that the Rock Raiders, the rock monsters burping is what caused the tremors?
Yes. Because they're eating all these
That's
energy
an immediate
crystals.
2 for me.
Two.
because I think that it was not necessarily the strongest of purposes, but that just makes it ridiculous for me. Okay, so
I mean,
I'm sorry.
They're goofy. They have those big old cartoony eyes and the
I'm giving you 2 points because there's bad rock monsters and there's good miners.
We haven't, even
and that's
we haven't even talked about the Crystal King. How did the Crystal King play into all
He's
of
just
this?
the big one.
Yeah.
Just a big,
I wish
just a
they
big
did
guy.
something with him.
There was no Crystal Kingdom.
I think there's some missed opportunity there, but they were trying to make it simple and
Yes.
accessible. It didn't stop them from selling well.
I think if it went to wave 4, we would have seen a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would have had to have something else added to it.
I think we could have possibly seen a rock monster build. That's just their base or something.
That
Their
would have been
world.
cool. I kind of missed out on that aspect of it.
They definitely shine in other areas. That's not the point of Power Miners, is
Not
to have
at
a
all.
deep lore, So
No.
yeah.
Get into Bionicle for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, if I had to rank the story here, I don't know. It's definitely goofy. I think it's really easy to get kind of political with it.
Yeah.
Which is probably, we'll talk about that also later. I think,
that could be our summary, yeah.
We're going underground and we're harvesting non-renewable resources and we're affecting, living creatures and the ecosystem.
Local wildlife,
Yeah, local wildlife.
This is the same in Rock Raiders, but it's in space.
Yeah,
so
it's like, so we're the
matter.
rock monsters the bad guys who did the Power Miners stuff?
Are they the victims here?
Yeah, they're the victims. I don't know. It didn't really do anything for me. It was still a mining theme, which is all it should have been. It should have just been a mining theme.
It's very essential.
I'll give it a 4.
There you go. Okay. Now, I think we can actually just not worry about that last category, because that's really just what we talked about in this for me. But
Our category was comics or games, so unless we have
I already mentioned both of those.
Expand upon.
Comics
It just would have been a sweep for
it would have just added more to Rock Raiders.
Rock Raiders. So I don't know. We'll get ready to tally up the points here, and if Rock Raiders comes out on the bottom, we'll maybe Mark will reconsider.
I've said my piece. I think everyone can agree these are two cool themes for their own way.
Yeah, there you go. So hang tight for just a second. We'll get these tallied up.
Before we do that, even as a Rock Raiders fan, would you consider Power Miners to be a spiritual successor to it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because they're using the same crystal piece. They're even using the same neon green color for some of those crystal pieces. So I think there's definitely a... They probably Lego was like, it didn't work then, but maybe it'll work now. And they actually did for a couple waves. So
I like to think they are the exact same energy crystals that they're mining.
I could see that.
Maybe one came from an asteroid and they've now propagated underground, or...
In a way, I would think that the Power Miners might have been the original crystals, because they have all the colors, and Rock Raiders only have neon green.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the limitation of the time. But,
So maybe one of these crystals from Earth made its way to that
that's
planet
what I'm thinking, but, we can make our own lore to this. You know what I'm saying? It's good. But let's add up that score.
Hang on. Okay, so 32, 33, and 37, and that gives us 102 points for Power Miners.
Oh
yeah!
Oh, they just edged it out. So the totals there were 96 points for Rock Raiders and 102 points for Power Miners. They just barely pulled it away.
Not that far off.
What was interesting was Mark and I both had Rock Raiders winning, but only by about 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
We were giving a fair assessment to Power Miners, but Garrett had 37 to 26.
The more bias.
Power Miners.
Yeah.
So by having a wider bias for Power Miners, he beat out both of our minor favorings. So, gosh, what do we think about that overall? This means it's undisputed now. I mean,
unfortunately, I'm gonna have to eat this every time we talk about these
Power
games.
Miners wins. It's just better now.
It's better. We will be making shirts that say Power Miners is better.
Yeah, you can just go and pull this one off.
Yeah, exactly. Just
go and throw that out.
No.
I think both of these themes very much have their place in LEGO history.
Mm-hmm.
I would say personally this is better. But these really are these are sister themes in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's been a pretty generic trend in a lot of these versus videos that the chronologically later theme is just going to perform better because of better advances in parts
Better
and
design
set
principles.
design and anything. So I think I don't know if we've had any where the older theme has actually beat out the more modern one. I'm trying to remember.
We
what
did
the
Ninjago and Monkey Kid.
Yeah, did Ninjago win?
That's,
Double check. Yeah,
that's fair. But because Ninjago's been running that whole time, I think it's a little bit different. It's been there for part of that progression, whereas these are distinct, kind of chronologically separate themes. The more modern one's probably going to do better.
These are very different eras of LEGO.
Yeah.
A decade separating them.
These are literally 10 years apart.
Gosh, do we have any, so let's do as kind of a concluding discussion here. We mentioned a couple times, where would we want to see them go next if they did another sort of mining-based theme, or do you even think they would ever touch that again? We can kind of cover both of those topics. So I'll leave it up to you who wants to go first.
I think they fully should do another mining theme. Rock Raiders is well loved. Power Miners, people go crazy for it. I mean, we never have it in the store. We can't keep it.
They're both very desirable.
Yeah.
We have a pretty sparse table today.
Even the city mining thing that they did is pretty cool, and they have some really cool sets in it. Minecraft is a crazy popular theme. The children yearn for the mines.
There it is.
They yearn for it.
There it is.
I very much think LEGO could do it. I don't see why they wouldn't, other than it's kind of like what we've mentioned. it has to be an in-space mining theme. You can't
Yep.
do mining for rare, precious materials on Earth in a Lego theme.
Copper mines aren't PC.
We
you
can't-
know,
we
they
can't
aren't.
do
Yeah,
that.
so, yeah.
So if they ever do it again, I think it should go more in the directions of Rock Raiders. How
Yeah.
it should be like a alien planet. We found some kind of like material, antimatter or whatever.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think, yeah,
It'd be great.
the kids yearn for the mines.
Well,
I mean,
even-
I can't say
It
any
would
other
sell,
way.
yeah.
Even in the city space theme, we got the new colors of crystals,
Yeah.
and there were new aliens and things. So there are ways they could do that. I think they're just leaving it up to city themes as opposed to trying to do it as a standalone thing now, which I think is a little disappointing.
You know what the missed opportunity is? Them making fruit snacks that are the crystals.
Yeah, little gummy candies.
I'd order all of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be.
Yep.
Ooh.
Gosh, Mark, do you have any thoughts about that? Either if you think they would ever touch it again, or what direction you would think they should go if they do?
I would love it if they did. They kind of have in two separate occasions with the Lego City mining, just gold mining,
Yeah.
and then you have the Lego space
Even
sets.
that was a while ago, though.
That was-
wasn't it?
that was, like,
probably,
barely
what,
after-
2016, 17?
That was
somewhere
barely
in there.
after the end of Power
Yeah.
Miners.
Yeah.
But then the latest City space sets also have the purple crystals and have a little bit of mining emphasis going on.
Yep.
A little
But
bit, yeah.
it is that doesn't quite satisfy the full on this is a mining theme versus just this is a space theme that has a few crystals we can collect too. So I don't think we'll ever actually see it though,
Yeah.
and I think it's not quite as bad as like say Western, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not something that Lego really wants to delve too much into because they've gotten pressure from various social groups
Yeah.
that don't like Shell. Like so it's like they
Yeah.
the fact that they're made of,
Anti-fracking,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
The fact that Lego products are made of oil gives them a little bit of a target on their back, so they're trying to be very green, very eco, very
Yes.
trying to embrace that side of society. So I don't think they're going to lean towards this as much as I think it would do well.
For sure,
yeah.
for sure. I think there are ways that they could do it. I mean, even with space, they may eventually decide that they don't want to encourage, harvesting planets with delicate ecosystems
Or
for their
taking
resources.
an alien and putting him in a spacesuit.
They're just
Yeah.
grabbing those little alien guys and stomping on the alien ferns, and it's not
No,
good.
they're putting them in spacesuits and they're putting them to work.
Yeah.
But I think there are ways that they could do it. I mean, even when I was in college, I was in the engineering program and looking at the different paths of engineering you could go into, and one of them was mining and minerals engineering. And a lot of the stuff that they were talking about was like mining asteroids for resources. That's something where you're not really going to affect an ecosystem or something, but there could be materials that you could extract from there without really causing any harm. So I think there are some ways they could do it if they really put their mind to it. As far as whether or not that story would be too convoluted for them
Yeah.
to attempt,
That's a good
I don't
point.
know. So we'll see.
Lego
I
just
would
needs to
certainly
grow
like
up
them
and
to.
give us the lithium mindset by now.
Nope. On that note, I think we'll draw an end to this video as the children yearn for the mines. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Between the Studs. Please hit that like button if you like the content that we make. It really helps the channel. We would really appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe or join our membership tiers to get some extra benefits. We would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on Between the Studs. See you later, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.